Hi, I'm Meg.
And I'm David.
Welcome to The Average Vegans, a podcast to help you live an attainable vegan lifestyle. We're not the ripped influencer vegans you hear about in other podcasts. We're just some ordinary people living in the South, eating plants and loving animals. All right. In this episode, we are interviewing the amazing Heather, and she is the owner of the sanctuary called Vincent's Place, where they rescue goats who so they can live their very best lives. I love that sentence. That makes me so excited. And it's created to give a safe forever home for goats rescued from neglect, abuse, and slaughter. I mean, that's the most amazing little mission statement right there. I mean, it encompasses everything all in one. So we are very thankful that you took time today to talk to us about Vincent's Place and your mission in life, because we think it's wonderful for our listeners to hear about, and we hope that maybe they can help you in some way as well.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to talk to you about everything that's going on with Vincent's Place and our journey so far. And we still have a long way to go, but I think it's going to be a really beautiful and healing place for goats and humans alike. So that is our goal.
I love that. I love that so much. So tell us, I don't want to give you the whole blanket, like tell me just about Vincent's Place, but maybe let's start with, who is Vincent?
Okay, so there's a little backstory behind that. The whole reason I even found farm animal sanctuaries to begin with was Goats of Anarchy. I loved goats. I've always loved goats. And so I had started, before I was even vegan, I started following Goats of Anarchy. And I was like, oh, these goats, there's just something so amazing about someone rescuing these goats. And so after following them for a while, I realized there's probably a farm animal sanctuary near me, right? There has to be. I started noticing more and more and more sanctuaries as I looked online. And I was like, let me see if there's one near me. There's one the next town over. So I wrote to the founder and I was like, hi, I'm differently abled and I can't really, muck out barns and lug giant, 1,000-pound rolls of hay and stuff like that. But I would really love to be able to come and just love on your animals. Is that okay? And she was like, sure, come on over. So I visited from time to time. And it was always very calm and just kind of getting animals used to human interaction, right, and getting scritches and cuddles. And I have a friend who works for a University of Georgia, and I wrote to him and said, what do you guys do with your food when, it's at the end of the day or the end of the month or whatever? And he said, well, most of the food they give to the homeless shelter, except for bread. For some reason, all of the bread, good, bad, or otherwise, gets chucked in the dumpster when he cleans out the cooler. And I said, well, can I bring it to the sanctuary for the pigs and the cows and the animals that can have that? And so he's like, sure. So I go to the University of Georgia. I have a picture. It's hysterical. Literally fill up my makeup with bread. There was no room for anything else. I had the back seat folded down. There's a giant mountain of bread behind me. And I drove to the sanctuary and I was like, hey, I'm dropping off some bread. I'll put it in the feed shed. And she goes, oh, did you see the baby goat? I was like, I'm sorry.
Baby goat.
Hey, baby goat. And he's like, yeah, we just got a baby goat. And he was saved from slaughter from a dairy farm. And he's 3 weeks old. His name is Vincent Van Goat. And I was like, I must see goat. I was like,
oh my God, his full name is killing me. That's the best.
Vincent Van Goat. It is because he had one floppy ear and one regular ear.
I love it.
So I trot across the street and down to the pasture and into the barn, and there is this teeny tiny little baby goat who was pretty scared at the time because he had just shown up. And I was like, I'm going to be here all day now. Like I had just planned bread going home, and I stayed all day. He fell asleep in my lap.
Oh.
And I was like, it was love at first sight. I have never experienced, I've rescued dogs, cats, birds, bunnies, but somehow there was something about Vincent that I don't, I keep saying it's love at first sight. I believe that love knows no species. And I was like, I love this baby. Like he needs a mommy. And, I had just had a total hysterectomy because of some of my health issues. And so I was like, well, I need a baby. You need a mommy. Perfect. So that day I became a regular volunteer. I volunteered 5 to 6 days a week.
So
and
cute.
I raised him from the time he was 3 weeks old. I volunteered for a year and I was there all the time, spoiled him positively rotten. He was my baby. Like I can't, like he had me so well trained. I clicker trained him to do like, like up and down,
Right.
helps with vet visits. And I was teaching him how to paint. He was learning how to pick up the paintbrush.
Oh my
Goats are
gosh.
so incredibly smart. They're as smart as dogs.
And with that name, he has to paint. I mean, come on.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, this would be a great way to fundraise for the sanctuary to have, like, you could buy an original Van Gogh. Like, that would be amazing.
I'm
So,
dying.
I thought it was clever. I still have the paintbrush that has all those little teeth marks in it when he was figuring out how to pick up the brush. We were like, okay, we'll start with picking up the brush.
Right.
There's a pig named Picasso that does paintings for the sanctuary that Picasso lives at.
Love
so
it.
I was like, well, we can have a Van Gogh. And so after going almost every day, I didn't go on Saturdays because they had a lot of volunteers on Saturdays. So I didn't feel like they needed me. But the rest of the week, I was there. I gave him his babas. We had snuggle time, and it was just an amazing bond. And as he got older and got to be outside, Vincent and our bond just grew and grew as he grew.
Right.
Our bond grew, and he has had such an impact on my life. Vincent does not live here with me. He lives at the sanctuary, at which I did volunteer for 1 year. And the impact that he had on my life was so profound that I really want to pay it forward.
Right.
And so, of course, when I was like, I'm going to start a goat sanctuary, it had to be Vincent's place. It had
of
to
course.
be.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm chronically ill. And so I would go there some days and not really have a lot of spoons. I wouldn't really be able to do a lot. But I would bring my blanket. He knew the blanket. As soon as I would put the blanket down and I would lay down in the sun, he would either lay on me or as close to on me as he could get as he got bigger. The cutest thing was like he would huff at me as if my lap were shrinking, and instead of him growing, I'm like, I'm sorry, you don't fit anymore. Like, you're a very big boy.
That's so cute.
Yeah. And so, but in those moments when I laid with him, no matter how ill I was, I could forget my pain.
Right.
I could forget my illness. I wasn't my illness. I could be just laying in the sun with a goat who loved me. And I loved him. And like just listening to him chew his cud and feel him like against me breathing. He never left my side. He always knew when I needed extra love.
Right.
I was there with the day that my mother passed. I was with Vincent, and I let my mom talk to Vincent. My mother at the time wasn't able to communicate, but she could hear. And she's the one who taught me how to rescue. And so I got the phone call that was like, it was going to happen soon. And they're like, she can't respond, but she can hear you. I was like, well, let me let you talk to Vincent. So I gave the phone to Vincent and he chewed on it for a little bit, which I figure is like the equivalent of goat talk.
Yeah.
As far as a phone conversation. And I held him until I got the call that she had passed over the Rainbow Bridge. And he knew I needed extra love that day.
Right.
He followed me everywhere. Our bond was just so incredibly precious and so healing for both of us. When
Right.
he wasn't feeling well, I didn't leave his side. And when I wasn't feeling well, he didn't leave mine.
Mm.
And so, because of him, a whole new sanctuary is in the process of being born. So, I hope to give that experience to other people who are chronically ill or differently abled so that they get to experience that healing. The love and healing
Mm-hmm.
animal therapy is just phenomenal. And people have like therapy horses and therapy
Right.
dogs. And I feel like goats are in the middle.
They were
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so I really want to. I've talked to a couple licensed social workers and some psychologists who actually are willing to, once we're all up and running, help us make sure that we're able to become ADA compliant and have a situation and have everything set up so that it can be a place where if someone needs animal therapy, they can just come here and take a nap with a goat.
Oh God, that sounds amazing. I mean, you like I've seen things where they do like yoga with goats. So this just seems like logical as a more deeper way to connect to the animal and kind of benefit each other. I love that part of it, that it's for both of you. Oh, that's
It was
wonderful.
it was definitely mutual. It was like I said, I cannot verbalize the bond that we had. He would be
Mm.
across the pasture, and if he lost sight of me, he would scream, and I would be in mid sentence with someone. I'd be like, "Okay, so I fed the chickens and I cleaned out the pig pools over there, and then Vincent, I'm coming." And then and people would just find, the other volunteers eventually just got used to the fact that anytime Vincent spoke, everything stopped. I
Yep.
responded to him. I'm right here, and then he'd come find me, and then everything would be okay. And so the bond was just so healing for both of us, and it was really something really, really special that I've never experienced before. And I think a lot of people don't see farm animals that way.
Right.
People can look into the eyes of their dog or their cat and
Mhm.
see sentience and feel that loving connection, but a lot of people don't ever have the opportunity to connect with farm animals.
There you go. They don't have the opportunity, and that's what Vincent's Place is going to do. And it's amazing. I'm very excited for you. So, as you said, it's not built yet, but it is in the process. And I've been following you for quite a while on social now, and I love watching all the differences and all the progress that you make. So, tell us a little bit more about like where is Vincent's Place located? Do you have like maybe a tentative open date? No pressure there, you know.
Rona kind of ruined that whole.
Yeah, it's a no.
Right.
um, so we are located in Colbert, which is just outside of Athens, Georgia. So we are located just outside of Athens, Georgia, which works out great because UGA Vet Hospital is a 15-minute drive.
Oh,
so
nice.
if we ever have an emergency, it's a 15-minute drive. It's as close, if I had to go to the ER or if one of our animals have to go to the ER, same amount of time. So
That's
that's
awesome.
great. Yeah, I mean, and there are tests that I have been researching goat everything for the last since COVID happened, basically. And there are tests that only can be done, they're like, the only place that does this specific test for this specific disease is the University of Georgia. And I was like, awesome. Right down the road.
Well, that is right.
Love that. Okay, so we know that the goal of Vincent's Place is to help people kind of connect to the goats, feel that healing love from them from pet therapy. Are there any other like long-term goals? Do you have like any cool projects you see coming from Vincent's Place?
Well, I think right now finishing building everything is my
Yes.
goal. It's kind of funny the way that everything happened, and I'm always one of those people that's like, things happen for a reason, but sometimes you just don't get it at the time.
Right.
So I stopped volunteering at the sanctuary at the end of December, and I decided in January, like, I'm gonna make Vincent's Place. I like started doing the research on what it would take. I went to a farm animal conference that was hosted by a sanctuary in South Carolina called Mountain
Ooh.
Branch, and everyone there were sanctuary founders. And I was like, hi, I don't have anything yet, I don't even have my 501c3, but I want to learn as much as I can before I get into this. I want to be surrounded by people and make connections with people that I can
So
ask.
smart.
Because why reinvent the wheel? If someone has experienced something and they can be like, no, don't do that, do this,
Right.
I would rather do that. And it
Sure.
was an amazing, amazing experience. Right after that, COVID blew up.
Yep.
And because I have autoimmune issues, I was on lockdown. And so I started writing to all these sanctuaries saying, so if you had forced downtime before you could start your sanctuary, what would you have done? Like,
Great question.
Very good question.
and everyone was like, research, do your policies and procedures, research, research, research.
Yep.
So the last year and a half has been an interesting journey as far as changing the way that I initially thought things would be built, the way that I thought things would be set up, because I've been talking to the sanctuary community is so amazing and so supportive. So I'm writing to sanctuaries all over the country being like, what kind of floor do you have in your quarantine barn? You know, like questions that I wouldn't have thought to ask, but because I'm doing this research and connecting with people, the entire design of Vincent's Place has changed dramatically from January when I'm like, I'm going to start a sanctuary, till now. Now I have a very solid plan. I think it's really the best for the animals because they're going to be rescued from a bad situation.
Right.
They deserve the best life ever that I can provide. And because I've had so much feedback, the plan, I had thought by now we'd be open and we'd be having, different projects going on. And right now the project is still, unfortunately, getting everything built. But as far as long term, I definitely want to become ADA compliant. Our biosecurity is really intense here because as someone who has health issues, I am very sensitive to understanding other people who have, maybe not the same thing as me, but other people who are differently abled in a myriad of different ways. I want to make sure that everyone, our residents are safe and the people who come here are safe. And so I would love to actually open up and start to offer animal therapy to autists, to veterans, people with PTSD.
Oh, yes.
I really want to be able to have people be able to make that connection because I am not an angry vegan. I love planting seeds of compassion. And I would have gone vegan a lot sooner if my first experience with a vegan wasn't someone screaming at me about what I was eating.
Right.
Instead of explaining to me or having me make a connection. So I think that even, some sanctuaries are very strict about your volunteers have to be vegan. And you don't have to be vegan to come here because I think that coming here might plant that seed.
Yeah.
You might look, we're anticipating. I got really great advice from Wendy, who's the founder of Odd Man Inn, when I first started. And she's like, start small, start with the species that you know the most about and learn everything you can about that species, and then grow organically as funding and as everything allows.
Right.
So we're going to be goats primarily. But I have a sneaking suspicion that there will be sheep, alpacas, chickens.
I was gonna ask that.
I know how I want to start, and I think that that's amazing advice to I'm looking right now at a stack of 5 books on goats. I just researched every medical, everything. I went to school to be a veterinarian a million years ago, so I only did 2 years, but I have that hunger for knowledge. And so I have all these books. I'm just going to research the bejesus out of goats so that I am as prepared as possible. Everyone always says the part of sanctuary life is that you can think you're prepared for everything, but something crazy is going to happen that you're going to be like,
Where's that book?
That happening. Like, a chupacabra got onto the property. Like, who knows? But like, so there's always going to be something. But I really want to make sure that this is a place where kids can come. I don't know if you've seen, I do story time once a week. I've been doing it for over a year. We're on our 12th book. One day I read to the Vincent's Place family, and I alternate between, grown-up books and kids' books. And when I was in high school, I used to volunteer for the local library reading to kids in the summertime.
Love that.
I have a stack of little vegan seed planting books for kids. One of them is by an author called Stanley Chu, and it's called Just Like Me. And it's like just letting kids see that connection that like, oh, like this goat feels sad and has friends and like has
I love that.
Yeah, has a favorite food just like me, and like just those little ways to like make little baby vegans,
Yes. Yes. That's the purpose of this podcast. We want little baby vegans too.
Yes. And so I'm really excited. I've had some authors donate books to me so that I can have story time here once we have our animals, and I can read to the goats and the kids, and they'll have the interaction with the children. They'll hear the story, and that'll plant some seeds. And maybe when they go home that night and they have chicken for dinner, they'll be like, I met a chicken today, and I don't
right.
So I'm hoping long term, I'm hoping to have programs to help connect with children and to help other spoonies like myself, and to just be able to help people have that connection and plant those seeds, because it's those seeds that get you like, oh, that cognitive dissonance kind of starts to lose its power when you connect with an animal that is considered a food animal.
Right, exactly. I'm so curious about when you went vegan and why. And we ask everyone we interview this because I like people to tell their vegan stories, because again, that can also lead to planting a little seed to someone who is listening right now. So tell us, when did you go vegan? Why? What was that process like?
Everyone says I am strange and unusual, to quote Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice. I myself am strange and unusual. I don't tend to do things the way that everybody else does. And I was aware of my cognitive dissonance for a very long time. I mean, a decade of me knowing, like, I love cows. I grew up in a dairy town in New Jersey, and it just never occurred to me that those weren't happy cows. Just there, it wasn't there. I was like, oh, look at that cows. Like, I had no concept, because they don't teach you that.
Right.
And I'm 47. There was no internet at the time, so there was no information as far as what the dairy industry really looks like.
Right.
So the way I went vegan was kind of like, I guess I have Facebook to thank, oddly enough. So an ad popped up for Challenge 22. And I was like,
is that the book?
No, it basically is like, try going vegan for 22 days. And if you don't like it, you don't have to stick with it. And if you like it, great. And I was like, I can do 22 days. And like I said, for about a decade, the back of my brain, I'm like, I love cows and leather and burgers and cheese. And I knew, like, somewhere in the back of my brain, I knew that's not right. And I used to tell people, I'm like, I don't want to know the middle part. I don't want to know. And I think a lot of people think that way. It's like, I don't want to, like, I love animals. I'm like, well, but you eat them.
Yeah.
But I did too. So I am not one to throw judgment at anyone, because I did the same thing. So I understand how you can be like, blah, 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 like, I don't want to know about the middle part. I like the cow and I like my food and like whatever. And so I said, I could try vegan for 22 days. I've always kind of wanted to do that. That seems very in tune with my loving animals. And so it was really easy for me. So I went from being like full omnivore. I didn't go vegetarian first. I went from omnivore to vegan overnight. And
Same.
in over those 22 days, I was like, I should probably learn more about this. You know, I'm looking up vegan recipes, I'm finding vegan podcasts, I'm finding vegan accounts online. And I'm like, oh, how have I been supporting this all this time? Like, I was heartbroken. Like, I'm going to cry just keep talking about it. I have a necklace that Love and Liberation Jewelry makes. Beautiful jewelry that's always a great way to start a conversation about veganism. And it's a little heart. And on it says, "Dear animals, I'm so sorry I waited so long."
I love that quote because it really hits home. Like, oh, I apologize. It shouldn't have taken me this long. Yep.
Yeah, I like, and you know, I live in the country. There's a cow farm down the road. And every time I pass there, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. And that's all I can do. That feeling of like, oh, how did I knowingly turn a blind eye to this for so long? But once your eyes are open, like when people are like, oh, I was vegan, but I'm not anymore. I don't understand that because I feel like that's plant-based. And being plant-based and being vegan, different.
Correct. Yeah.
Very different. Yes. And what's really interesting is I followed the 22-day revolution book, which is sounds exactly the same as you. And I went straight vegan overnight as well. So we are very twinsies in this. Yeah. Because I was, I was like, if I could do 22 days, I mean, I could do that. Because David, when we used to work together, he would bring in his vegan lunches. And I'm like, wow, that smells amazing. What? And then he'd give me a bite and I'm like, that's really good. And so like, yeah, I know, you're so clever. So you planted that seed in my brain that, you know, vegan food isn't gross like some people might assume it is. So I saw this book and I was like, 22 days, I can try that. And like literally within days, I was like, I will never go back. I feel so much better physically. And then knowing that I am saving animals' lives, I was like, this is it. It only took a few days and I was like, I'm done. That's the end of it. So interesting.
Yeah, same with me. It was like a few days into it and I'm like, I should probably learn like more about this. And then once your eyes are open, you just can't turn that off. You can't unknow something. You can't unknow how horrible the industry is and how horrible how horribly these animals are treated. And once you know, it's like, how could I ever support that ever again? And
not only that, it's very needless too, because you know, like I've been vegan almost 10 years and I'm doing perfectly fine. So it's not like you don't need anything from them to survive. I eat perfectly fine. I live my life just fine without it. Trust me.
I find it really interesting because I was actually told by doctors, which I feel like there needs to be a movement where we educate our physicians.
Yes.
Because I was told I need animal protein. I need animal protein for my body to function properly. And I was like, okay, you're the doctor. I guess you know what you're talking about. So wrong. I feel so much better now than, I mean, like my skin is better, my like just overall everything. And I live every day knowing that I'm living like in alignment with my morality. Like I can't say I love animals, but I also murder them and eat them. Like that just is like, you know, that sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud. But you know, but I was told by physicians like, oh, you can't. I mean, I went on a Buddhist retreat and everyone there is vegan because they are all about compassion. And I was like, I can't eat this food. Like I can't survive on this food. I saw nooch for the first time. I was like, what is that?
Delicious. You know? It's delicious is what it is.
Nooch on
everything.
I love nooch.
It's the greatest thing.
It is. I love it. And people are like, oh, you eat like lettuce. And it's like, well, sometimes.
I mean, with
Like I
stuff
love
on it.
salad. Like, I'm a foodie. So
Yeah.
that was a concern for me in the beginning because I was like, ooh, I'm a foodie. Like, and
Yeah.
I was like, what am I gonna eat? And vegan food is delicious.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, a question just occurred to me. Are you going to the Atlanta Veg Fest on Saturday?
I am not because I just got my booster shot
Oh, yes.
for COVID. So I can't go to Veg Fest this year, but
Okay.
next year I would actually like to go and maybe even table and just be a part of it.
That would be
Oh,
Um,
cool.
absolutely.
I would I would love to, even if it was to go help vegan outreach or someone else, like let me help. Let me be
Yes.
a part of it. Like I want to go and check everything out, food, but and meet other vegans because
Yes.
I have like one vegan friend. My friends are very accepting. They don't play like torment the vegan.
Same.
Right.
I was a little afraid of that because sometimes you have people who just really just want
Can't.
to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky that everyone, is like, okay, are you coming? Are you coming to this event? Because I want to make sure I have something that you can eat. Now,
Oh,
that's awesome. Like I can bring my own food. Like I love entertaining. And so I always put out a spread. And I love now when I put out a spread and everyone's like, this is delicious. And I'm like, and vegan. See how
yeah.
yummy vegan food is? Like, don't just eat lettuce and tofu, I promise. Like,
Absolutely. I before COVID, I run a true crime book club, and we actually have a mutual friend, Athena, who is in my book club. And I primarily would only have like I would only offer vegan food at these little meetups. But what's so interesting is everyone that brought food, it was always vegan. I never required it, but they were just like, well, I'm going to a vegan's house, I mean, I might as well. It's a nice thing to do. So it's like people that would just normally have brought something that's not vegan, they purposely went out of their way to make sure that they brought something that I could eat. And then they all just gorge themselves on all the food. And I was like, I love people like that. Like I love friends that are so accommodating to the way that I live my life and they don't give me crap about it. Those are good friends.
We just
yeah, they really
there's
are.
there's
Um,
just there's just so many more options now, especially
yeah.
with plant-based quote meats and cheeses and all this stuff. 'Cause even when I went, it was tofu, soy milk, and maybe one veggie burger, and you had to just kind of like make up the rest of it along the way. That's crazy how
Right.
many options you
Oh
have
my
now.
gosh. And now there's so much stuff that they just mix it in with all the other food. And I'm like, can we just have a vegan section? Because
I want a vegan section. It would just make things so much easier because I have to pull out my glasses. I'm like,
yep.
does this have milk in it? Like, does this have
Yes.
palm oil? I can't do palm oil. Like, yeah, so
It like sometimes I'm like so happy that the vegan burgers are with sometimes with regular burgers. I'm like, oh, I mean, at least maybe somebody will accidentally pick up the vegan one and like it. But then I'm like, ew, now I have to look at your gross
Look
meat
at
when I
death.
want to go find my stuff. I'm like, I try to avoid that.
I
Oh,
like do the weirdest like route
Yeah.
around the store to avoid because I'm like,
yep.
I can't
Nope.
look at it, I can't smell it, like, ugh. Like no, yeah, I do like this very bizarre, like roundabout way. Like instead of doing a nice straight line, I'm like
Yep.
I go down and around. It's like I can't. Like you will make me cry. Like I will cry,
Yeah.
and people will be like, "This crazy lady is crying at the meat counter." Like, be like, "That could have been my friend." Like,
Exactly. Oh
Just
my gosh.
I just
But it's
I just walk
interesting
by there
because
grumbling. I'm sorry.
You
oh no,
just
go
walk
ahead.
by grumbling.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Just
Death,
complaining.
death. I can't believe I would just do it.
Murderers. Um, okay, so we asked about when you went vegan, why you went vegan, but we also always ask if you have any tips for someone that is deciding to, eat a more vegan diet, venture into more vegan lifestyle. Like, what would your tips be for a new baby vegan?
I think the best tip is that you don't have to be perfect right off the bat. I think a lot of there are a lot of people who are extremely passionate, and I am passionate, but I try to become passionate.
There you go.
um, but you don't have to be perfect. If you start by being like, my husband's a great example. So my husband, when we met 19 years ago, he was pescatarian. I was an omnivore, and but he still did dairy and everything. And so when I went vegan, he was still, like, oh, can you pick me up some milk or some cheese? And I'd be like, why don't you try some like of the vegan cheese?
Or get yourself.
I would accidentally pick up, oopsie, I got oat milk. I found, oopsie, let's try this. And so I tried like all the plant milks to find one that he liked. And he witnessed me, because we're not up and running yet. I still want to be an activist. I still want to help as much as I can. And so a lot of times I'm kind of like between. People will reach out to me because like, oh, you have a sanctuary, right? I'm like, I don't have a barn yet.
Working on it.
I am-ish. I'm working on it, but I don't have the facility and I don't have the things that I personally feel like I need before I can responsibly rescue. Like I need an emergency vet fund. I need that money set aside before I take in a single rescue because vet bills are expensive. And so I need, like, there are just certain things that I personally feel like I need before I can start rescuing. But I have lots of rescue friends. So hold that thought and I'll start calling people. And I was part of a rescue where we rescued 11 dairy calves. And they were all denied colostrum. And a lot of them, because of that and because of the horrible situation that they were in, we lost most of them. And I cried every day because we were just losing them. We were trying so hard to get them someplace safe, and it was a group effort. There was a whole bunch of us all involved in it, and John saw the effect that these dairy calves had on me, and there has not been an ounce of dairy in this house since then. It wasn't anything that I said. It wasn't anything that I did. It was him seeing and watching from, the sidelines, watching fight for these baby calves that were going to die because humans want to drink their mom's milk, which is gross when you think about it. But it's so gross, right? But in seeing that, and he's never pet a cow. He's a city man, and now adjusting to country life out here. But just seeing that was enough to make him realize, like, I don't need dairy. I don't need to support that because he wasn't aware. And because I'm not like, look at this video, watch Cowspiracy, like, tie him down, put the little like Clockwork Orange things in
little Clockwork Orange action.
What?
It's a little Clockwork Orange action.
Yeah, right. Watch this. Just because he saw how hard we were fighting and why they were dying, and it was like enough for him to be like, no, I'm not supporting that anymore. And so it wasn't a like seamless transition in the household. I went first, and he went vegan by watching me and watching my connection, like seeing me, like when I used to go to the sanctuary, and I have a friend who rescues chickens also. I always come home and I look like a crazy woman because I pick up their feathers and stick them in my hair. I come home not realizing I forget because I can't see them on my hair from the bun, and have all these feathers because I want to collect them, and I make art with them. And I remember who, these were for Blindy, and these were Bernard, these were from Goldie, and and these are from Sister. And so I would come home like a crazy person. Pictures of me holding these chickens and be like, these are cuddle chickens. And they weren't cuddle chickens when they showed up because they didn't have any reason to trust people. But like once you start to show compassion, animals are so forgiving. They are so forgiving. And so I think I totally got off topic, but
Okay.
they're so forgiving. And I think having people see that is a
Mhm.
great way to plant that seed. But anyway, back to, I'm sorry, I kind of did this crazy tangent thing, but
Beautiful
my,
tangent.
I
Go
do
on.
it too. It's fine.
my advice is that it doesn't have to be perfect. Try an Impossible Burger. The next
Mhm.
time you go to a burger place, if they offer a vegan burger, try an Impossible Burger or a Beyond Burger. Like try different. Like I had a friend who was like, I don't like any plant milks because none of them are white. And I was like, okay, that's a weird reason.
Yeah,
So
that is very
went,
strange.
I did the home. I bought like every brand I could,
Mhm.
and I was like, okay, the Chobani extra creamy oat milk is white and creamy and delicious, and you will love it. And now that's all she drinks. She doesn't drink milk anymore. But I was like, and it's white. Like that's like it's
Since
not
that
white
is so important.
because apparently that's important to you. But like, little steps like that, you know, I think the more you do it, the more you want, to expand. Like,
Yes.
first you get rid of the mayonnaise and the eggs, and then you're like, oh, well, I don't really need the dairy because you see something you're like, okay, like, didn't really know that, male calves are killed because we want their milk from their mom, and the mothers cry.
Mm-hmm.
Heartbreaking. And so once you see and learn that, you're like, yeah, maybe I don't need dairy so much. And once if you have, like I say to everyone who says that they love animals, especially because everyone says they love animals. I love animals.
Course,
No
of
one's ever
course.
like, I hate animals. Everyone loves animals. But it's like, go find a sanctuary and
Mm-hmm.
pet a cow and look into those eyes, and you see that soul looking back at you, and that will make you realize the connection there, the sense
Mm-hmm.
there. The reason that my husband initially had gone pescatarian, and it was 25 years before we met, was because he saw an art installation called "Does Your Food Have a Face?" And he said he looked at it and he was like, "Nope, I'm not eating anything that had a face." Somehow fish
I was like,
faces, but because they're not, just because they can't express.
right.
Right, yeah.
Fish are kind of like usually the last. They're kind of at the bottom. I think when people go vegan, I think, or vegetarian, I think fish tend to be at the bottom because they're not cuddly.
Yeah.
So I think that's usually like the bottom. But that was the reason that he was like, nope, not eating anything with the face. I was like, but then I was like, wait a minute.
But technically,
different faces, but they don't have the expressions that we associate with, joy or pain or sentience, really. And so,
Right.
Yeah. And right now, the book that I'm reading is called Soul of an Octopus. And what animal is more different than us than an octopus?
right?
Oh my gosh.
And the book is great. I mean, the only thing I dislike about it is that the animals are all in aquariums. I'm not personally a big fan of zoos and aquariums.
Same.
No.
But it's interesting because the author is explaining how each octopus has a completely different personality, things that they like and dislike, the way that they communicate. They're so alien that we have no way of knowing what it's like to be an octopus. The same way I don't know what it's like to be you,
Right.
and you don't know what it's like
Right.
to be me. But as humans, we're like, oh, well, it's kind of the same thing, right? And so you look at an animal like a goat or a chicken or an octopus, and you're like, well, I can't conceive of what it's like to be that animal. But when you interact with those animals, you kind of get a glimpse
Yeah.
into, that soul that's there. You look into a farm pig, quote unquote. You love on I love big pigs. I have a soft spot. I love potbellies. I think they have a little bit of a Napoleon complex, but I do love them. But I love big ones. But you look into those eyes and you're like, how could anyone ever look into those eyes, or a cow or a chicken? Like, how could you look into those eyes and see them looking back at you,
Mm-hmm.
and then say, I'm gonna eat your sibling? Like you just can't. You could,
Yeah.
I always encourage anyone who's like, I love animals. I'm like, come with me. We're gonna go to a sanctuary.
It's like, but do
I
you?
have a friend who is not vegan, and I think she's gonna be in for a surprise because she's going with me to go volunteer in South Carolina at a sanctuary, probably next month, and we're gonna be piggy cuddlers. That's our job. We are piggy cuddlers. And I have a very strong suspicion that she will not be eating pigs after that.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
How
I
can
want a
you?
piggy. I want to cuddle a pigs. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, piggy cuddler. That is an
Jealous.
official title of a volunteer job. Piggy cuddler.
Where is this?
I was like, I would
Yeah,
like to
right?
sign up. Isn't that great?
Oh yeah.
That is amazing. That's amazing. And I was going to ask, like, how do you recommend people get involved with farm sanctuaries and obviously volunteering, but like, is there anything else they can do? And what is that importance of volunteering for farm sanctuaries? Like, how can we as vegans help?
Oh goodness, that's like a really long answer. And I know I tend, if you haven't noticed, I talk a lot. So I will try to not overwhelm with a lot. I think that there are so many ways to help farm sanctuaries. See if there's one near you. I was surprised. I was like, oh, there's one like right there.
Right.
I recently drove to Tennessee to volunteer for a couple of days. I stayed for a couple of days at Odd Man Inn. I'm going to be going to Cotton Branch in South Carolina next month, probably, just because these are my friends and I want to help them. But also, I'm bringing people with me.
Right.
And I'm bringing people with me, and I want them to see what, because Vincent's Place isn't up and running yet, and we don't have our animals yet. So I think that volunteering is great. And there are so many ways you can volunteer. Like you can be hands-on volunteer.
Right.
So a lot of places have like Saturday or certain days where they'll have like an open volunteer day. And that's great because you get to actually be hands-on, helping with the animal, scoop and poop. I mean, like it's funny, but I'm like, I was so happy scoop and poop at Odd Man Inn. I was like, I never thought I would be this happy scoop and poop. Like, happiest scooping, pooping, like it was just
I love it.
there are other ways you can help too. I mean, a lot of sanctuaries have Patreon, and it's like for $1 a month. And everyone's like, well, it's just $1. Those dollars add up. And that helps sanctuaries know that month to month they have X amount of dollars that they can rely on that are coming in to pay for hay, pay for medical bills. So they know that whether they can take another rescue or not. I mean,
Right.
saying no is the hardest thing.
Oh,
But
I bet.
Patreon is the best way that I think, because it's $1 a month. I mean, you can obviously do more than that, but like I mean, we have Patreon, and I'm a patron of several sanctuaries because I believe we should all support each other. And it's like, oh, it's just $1 a month. Well, if you have $50 people giving $1 a month,
Right.
that's $50 a month that helps. And people are like, well, that's only $50. Well, you don't know what that's adding on to, what vet bill that's helping pay, how much pay or how much food. Or so that's a great way to help, is with Patreon. Amazon wish lists are always amazing. It's great as a sanctuary when you get a surprise. You're like, oh, my wish list. Just going to their websites, or usually their link trees on social media, because a lot of almost everyone's on Instagram at this point. Mm-hmm. Supporting them, even going and following them on Instagram and giving their posts a like and a comment, and bump that algorithm up, because the algorithm is killing sanctuaries right now. It really is. It's hiding all of us, large and small. I mean, some of the biggest sanctuaries I know are struggling as much as us, and we just get eaten alive by the algorithm. And so all you have to do is like give them a follow, give them a like, give a comment, and that makes more people see them and makes more people aware of them. And maybe that next person will be a patron and they'll give $1 a month, and then the next person might be like, hey, that's not too far from me. They need help transporting an animal from A to Z. I can do that. I can put a chicken in the back of my car and drive an hour,
Right.
There are just so many ways that people can help sanctuaries.
And I know that you have a Patreon, but you have something that I think is so interesting. Tell us about Sponsor a Fence Post.
Oh, yay!
I love this.
Thank you. So we are on 8 acres. About half of those acres are woods. And when we bought the property, we had this huge pasture, and we're like, what do we need this big pasture for? So we were slowly letting Mother Nature just kind of reclaim, the pasture. And then Vincent's place, and I'm like, gonna need that pasture now. And so one of the problems that we had with our pasture was that we were having ponding and water standing in the field with problems for hoof rot and bacteria, and just it's just asking for health issues down the road. So we took care of that. And then the next step is we need to fence in our pasture.
Yeah.
And so we need 94 8-foot posts that are like 6 to 7. They're called 6-7. They're about 6 inches round. I posted a picture of me with them. I'm 5 feet tall. These things are huge. But for $60, you can sponsor a fence post. And a lot of sanctuaries have sponsor an animal, and then you donate and you get updates on that animal. But we don't have the animals yet because we need a fence. Animals in. So for $60, you actually get an engraved. I can even show you some. I have them behind me. Wait, I actually have one from another sanctuary behind me. So they are black, brass.
Oh, nice.
And they're engraved. It's not painted. They're metal, they're brass, they're black, and they're engraved. So the engraving comes out this beautiful brass color. And when you sponsor a fence post, you get a plaque. And this plaque will go on the fence post that you sponsored. And the $60, the reason that it's $60, because that kind of seems like a weird amount, that covers the cost of the post and the amount of concrete that's going to hold that post in the ground.
Perfect.
And so when you sponsor a fence post, you get a plaque with whatever you want on it. And so some people are doing it in loving memory of someone that they've lost. Some people, this is actually much love from Ruby Slipper Goat Rescue. So some sanctuaries are sending donations to help. Some people are posting their businesses, their pets' names. Some person just said, for a more vegan world. That was all
Perfect.
they wanted to do. And so for me, it's really special because these are going to be on the posts that are going to surround the goat pasture where our rescues are going to live, which means every time anyone is in that pasture, they can look around and see the love and the support. And that means that my rescues are always going to be surrounded by love.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's great.
Yeah, and these people who do sponsor the fence posts, their name is, they are literally helping. I hate when people misuse the words literally. It drives me insane. They're literally part of the sanctuary now. They are a physical part of building a sanctuary from the ground up. I'm always like, we are building from the ground up. We have
exactly.
And now we're going to have hopefully a fence, and then we'll have a barn, and then we'll have a quarantine barn, and then we'll stop. Like there's a series of steps that take place. But right now, the fence is really important because we need to keep our deer out, because deer carry meningeal worm, and that is something that is deadly to goats. Ooh. So my deer are going to be a little mad that they still have, we have 8 acres, so they still have plenty of room, but they're not going to have that particular area. So they're going to be a little mad at me for a while. But the sooner we can get the fence up, the sooner we can keep them out and make sure that the soil is nice and healthy for when we do finally get everything built and we have goats there. I know that there won't be any threat of meningeal worm for them there.
Right.
But I just love the idea that anytime anyone comes there, that pasture is surrounded by love and support.
It's amazing. Such a great idea.
And really,
and I hope. Go ahead, David.
Sorry, and really, 60 to sponsor anything, especially a post, is actually relatively cheap, because usually things like that are like 3 to 4 figures sometimes to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And lumber prices right now. Yeah, COVID had a really bad impact on lumber prices.
I
So
work in the home building industry. I'm a marketing director for an architectural designs company. I'll keep it as vague as possible. But yes, lumber is insane right now. So that's a pretty good deal if anyone wants to help sponsor a fence post. What a great idea. And again, you mentioned you have a Patreon. I know you have a donation link. Is there any other ways that people can help support the creation of Vincent's Place? Because that's what we're here for. We want to tell everybody how they can help you.
thank you. Actually, I just got our first merch. I haven't sold anything yet. And so the holidays are coming up, and someone actually drew a picture. I had taken a picture of one of my goat friends. His name is Tumbleweed. And so someone drew this picture of Tumbleweed. And so
Aww.
we made holiday cards. So I'm actually, like, my computer's right here. I'm in the process of putting this up. They just came today, so I'm super excited. So the 100% of the proceeds from this goes to our fund for building the sanctuary. The fence first, the barn next. But I actually made two versions of this card. So they both look the same on the front. They have this beautiful goat and it says Happy Holidays. Half of them have a pride on the inside. Very muted, but I'm queer. A lot of our volunteers are queer. And I wanted a way to show love and joy and pride all at the same time.
Absolutely.
And so there's two options. You can just get it plain white inside. And I don't like, personally, when I buy Christmas cards, or when I used to buy Christmas cards, I don't like what other people print inside there. I'm like, I want to put my own stuff in there. So they are blank on the inside, but you can either get them with the rainbow flag inside, and it has the safe space sign on the back because we are a safe space. This is a gift that is, our whole slogan is everyone's safe at Vincent's Place. That includes humans. That includes everyone, from the crickets outside that I step over so that I don't hurt them, to the goats. Yeah, I'm that person. I totally am.
We do that too.
But excuse me. To our volunteers and our visitors, no matter what, you're able or differently abled, your social status, your religious, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that it's kind people, and that's what matters. So I wanted to make something where I could connect with a different part of our community that is kind of an overlap, because love and compassion is love and compassion.
I love that. That was great. Oh, yay. Okay. We are going to have all the links necessary in the show notes for everyone to follow you, but let's just verbally tell them the website, any of your social links. Just spew out your promotion. Where should people find information about you?
Okay. I'm on Instagram as Vincent's Place, at Vincent's Place. On Facebook, it's Vincent's Place Sanctuary.
Okay.
Our website is vincentsplace.org. And on there is where you can find the links to sponsor the fence post. You can find the links soon as I publish it to get holiday cards. And I'm actually probably tomorrow morning going to be launching a GoFundMe, which is a little terrifying because it's a big number, because it's the number that we need to get going. Totally.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, with lumber, I had to actually redo our budget because the prices that I got before Rona and after Rona were really different. So
very different. Yeah.
Twice as much different. I was like, how is a 2x4 that much money right now? Like, it's a 2x4. It's crazy. Like, trusses for the barn. I was like, oh, that's not that much. And I'm like, oh, yes, now it is. Okay. So we need 3 buildings. We need a barn. We need a quarantine facility. We need a place to store our hay and our straw, because in the South, it's warm and it's humid, and that can cause fire. And so I need a separate building so that if for some reason a bale of hay decides to self-combust because it's composting, it's not going to take out any of my animals. You know, it's going to be away from everyone and keep everyone safe. The safety of our animals, I mean, is just number one priority. I'm totally a helicopter mom and I'm aware of that and I'm okay with that. So, but yeah, on vincentsplace.org is the links to sponsor the fence post. And there's also a place that says support. And on the support page, there are lots of little ways that you can help. Like if you shop at Kroger and you use a Kroger rewards card, you can actually go online and they'll donate a percentage of your purchases to the nonprofit of your choice. So
what?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Did not know that. That is a majorly good tip right there.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Kroger. So not every, it's not a huge amount that we're getting right now because not a lot of people know about it. I'm trying to kind of spread the word about that because like I kind of found it by mistake and I was like, oh, how do I get Vincent's
right?
And so I went through the whole thing and I thought it wasn't going to work out because they're like, oh, well, it's only in Atlanta. And then I got approved and I was like, okay, awesome. So it works at the Kroger in Athens and it works at all Krogers. So now I try to tell all my friends, like, if you shop, go online and all you have to do is go on there for support. It's called oh my goodness, Kroger Community, they call it. So they'll donate a proceed. Amazon Smile, we're on.
Yeah, Amazon. I was just gonna say it sounds just like that. That's so cool.
Yeah, so Amazon Smile costs you nothing. You shop on Amazon just like you always would, but they give us a donation every time you shop. Same with Kroger, they give us a donation, a percentage of what you spend. And so there are lots of ways to support without even spending any money. Right. Which I think is great because, it's hard for everyone right now. And so if there are ways that you can support a sanctuary without, digging into your pockets when things are tight, I think that that's a great thing. I have on there, our PayPal link, our Venmo link, all of that is on the support page. And I think I have it pretty much at the bottom of every page, like, please support us, click here.
As you should. And we encourage all of our listeners to visit vincentsplace.org and help grow this sanctuary. We are excited because once you are ready or even when you need some volunteers, we will be there. We love all of this. We are so excited for you. And I haven't played with many goats in my life, baby goats, because those are like everybody look at the baby, but like I haven't played with a lot of like adult goats and I'm excited.
I'm excited too. It's really funny because I have made some really amazing friends from just posting our journey online. Like, I'm like, hi, we're starting from scratch. And a lot of people don't it's every vegan's dream to have a sanctuary, right? We all want one. And micro sanctuaries are incredibly important to the sanctuary community because not everyone has 100 acres. Not everyone has the capacity, not everyone has the zoning. So not everyone can save, cows, but maybe you can save some roosters, or maybe you can, save some pigeons, or I mean, sanctuary is just a safe place. You can have 3 animals and be a sanctuary in my mind, because those 3 animals, the starfish story, right?
Yes.
I do not.
Do you want to tell the story? You want to tell the story?
I know the story. I'll let you tell it. I know the story. I tell it to everybody, so I'll let you tell it.
I love it. So a man sees a little boy walking down the beach, picking up starfish and throwing them back into the ocean. And the man walks up to the little boy and says, you can't save them all, right? It doesn't really make that much of a difference. And the little boy looks at the man and he picks up a starfish and he throws it back into the ocean. And he's like, it mattered to that one.
Oh,
that's my favorite analogies. I love that.
I just got chills. That is so good. Oh, love it.
So I'm a huge supporter of micro sanctuaries. I mean, and huge sanctuaries and all sanctuaries. I mean, I have people who are sanctuaries for tortoises or emus, or I mean, it's just amazing the animals that you don't realize need. Sometimes even it's just a soft landing. It's like
Oh,
Like give them a soft landing, let them have a dignified soft landing, and let them go know love and peace and safety and warmth, and let them know those things before they pass.
Yeah.
I mean, even people who, I mean, it's heartbreaking. I give props to people who give soft landings, but even that is incredibly important. And so there are just so many ways that we can just make the world a better place for animals. And I'm hoping that someday we won't need sanctuaries anymore because we won't be eating
And
oh
abusing and
gosh.
animals, so
torturing
they
and
won't be raised for those things. And so it would take a really long time. But I would like, that's my perfect, like when I'm really, really old, I want to be like, they don't need sanctuaries anymore because everyone realized that we don't have to hurt anyone to live healthy lives, eat
Yes.
healthy food, and it's better for the planet, it's better for our bodies, and it's certainly better for the animals.
right.
Absolutely. You know what? That is the perfect way to end this. You have said it all. That is wonderful. Again, we encourage everyone to visit the website, donate, help in any way you possibly can, sponsor a fence post because that is one of the coolest things I've heard of. But we again encourage you to visit other farm sanctuaries, any other sanctuaries you can find around your area. I definitely plan to soon because I was supposed to go with David, but he went with someone else, and now I'm mad at him about it. But it's
Oh no.
okay. It's okay.
What did I do
Look at him. Yeah, I'm so mad. Yeah.
now? I'll go. I mean,
Yeah, you better. Yeah,
just press
yeah.
stop and record when you're done.
All right. So we plan to, but we want to hear about everybody else's favorite farm sanctuaries and sanctuaries of any kind, especially in Georgia because we're selfish and we want to know about our local ones so we can go visit. But if you have any sanctuaries you want to tell us about, please, everybody, contact us and let us know because we want to help, we want to support, we want to encourage other people to do the same. So we hope that everyone enjoyed learning about Vincent's Place today. I'm very excited to see the progress. Definitely follow on social because you are very active. You're very good at social media. So you guys can see all kinds of fun stuff that you have going on. So everybody follow, donate, all that stuff. And we thank you again for taking the time to talk to us. I know it's like, nighttime and all that, and you took time out of your day. So thank you. And I hope that everybody visits your website and helps in some way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. That is it for today. Thank you guys. Bye.